The scanner warned, "Do not engage." Part 1. The Galactic Combat Academy stood on Station 7, a massive metal world floating in the empty space between three star systems. For more than 3,000 years, warriors from 46 different alien species had come here to train. They learned to fight, they learned to kill, and they learned to survive. Instructor had taught at the academy for 60 years. He was a species known for their strength and their scales. He stood over 2 meters tall. He had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. His scales were dark green, harder than the metal walls of the station. In 60 years of teaching, he had never lost a fight to any student. Every instructor at the academy wore a scanner on their wrist. This small device could read any living creature and tell you everything about them. It measured strength. It measured speed. It measured how fast their nerves could send signals to their muscles. Then it gave a number from 1 to 10. This number told you how dangerous the creature was. Trusted his scanner completely. It had never been wrong. On this particular morning, a small transport ship arrived at the station, stood in the docking bay with his arms crossed, waiting to meet the new exchange student. The Galactic Council had arranged this. Earth had recently joined the galactic community, and they wanted to send one of their soldiers to train at the famous academy. The ship's door opened with a hiss of air. Watched carefully. A young woman stepped out. She was small, very small. Guessed she was about 165 centimeters tall, which was tiny compared to most species at the academy. She had black hair pulled back in a simple knot. Her skin was a light brown color. Her eyes were dark and calm. She wore a simple gray uniform with no weapons visible. Looked at his scanner. The device hummed softly as it read the human. Species human, home planet Earth, physical statistics bone density below average, muscle composition standard, nerve conduction speed average, pain tolerance unknown, threat level 2.3. Almost laughed. Threat level 2.3 was barely above a species of peaceful plant eaters who served as cooks and cleaners on the station. This human woman was not a warrior. She was a joke. The woman walked up to him and bowed politely. "Instructor, I am Park, from Earth's United Defense Corps. Thank you for accepting me into your program." Her voice was soft and respectful, nodded his large head once. "Follow me, human. Training begins immediately." He turned and walked toward the training hall, his heavy footsteps echoing through the metal corridors. Followed behind him, her steps so quiet that could barely hear them. The training hall was enormous. The ceiling was 30 meters high. The floor was made of reinforced metal that could survive explosions. Around the edges of the hall, training weapons hung on the walls. Swords, spears, axes, staffs. All of them were real weapons, sharp enough to cut and heavy enough to kill. 40 other students waited in the hall. Watched face as she saw them for the first time. He expected fear. He expected surprise. Any normal creature would be scared. The students were monsters. There were 5, each one standing 3 meters tall with skin like gray stone. Their fists were bigger than his entire head. There were 8 fast and thin with razor-sharp claws on their hands and feet. Their scales shimmered between blue and silver as they moved. There were 6 warriors, covered head to toe in biological armor that grew from their own bodies. And there were many others. All of them were predators. All of them were killers. Looked at them. Then she bowed her head slightly in greeting and walked to an empty spot at the edge of the group. Noticed that she had not shown any fear. Interesting, he thought. Stupid, but interesting. "Today," announced, his deep voice filling the hall, "we test your baseline combat ability. Each of you will face me in single combat. I will not use lethal force. I will simply see what you can do." The students shifted nervously. Even the looked uncomfortable. Was famous for his skill with blades. Fighting him was painful even when he held back. "We begin now. Step forward." The first walked to the center of the hall, drew a training blade from his belt. It was slightly dulled, but still sharp enough to cut flesh. He held it in his lower right hand and raised his other 3 arms in a fighting stance. The attack. It lasted 12 seconds, moved between the slow punches like water flowing around stones. His blade flicked out 3 times. 3 cuts appeared on his arms and chest. The giant student fell to his knees, bleeding but alive. Adequate defense but too slow. Next. One by one the students faced. They were fast but was faster. They were armored but knew where to strike. The other species each had their strengths, but none of them could match the instructor. The fastest fight was 8 seconds. The longest was 53. Every single student ended up on the floor. Finally, only remained. Looked at her with all 4 of his eyes. Human, step forward. Walked to the center of the hall. She did not take a fighting stance. She did not raise her hands. She simply stood there, her arms loose at her sides, watching him. Checked his scanner one more time. Threat level 2.3, minimal danger. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yes." "You have no weapon. Do you want one?" Shook her head slowly. "No, thank you." Felt a small flicker of annoyance. This human was either very brave or very stupid. Probably stupid. Threat level 2.3 creatures were not brave. They were just too dumb to know they should be afraid. "Very well, defend yourself." Moved. His blade came down in a simple strike, aimed at her forearm. It was a teaching blow. It would cut her skin and teach her pain. It would show her that she was weak and that she needed to try harder. The blade moved fast, faster than most species could see. His hand came up. She did not dodge. She did not block with a weapon or a shield. She caught the blade. Her bare hand closed around the flat of the weapon, stopping it completely. The sharp edge bit into her palm. Blood dripped down between her fingers and fell to the floor in small red drops. But the blade did not move. It was frozen in her grip like it had hit a wall. Stared. In 60 years, no student had ever caught his blade. No student had ever even tried. His scanner began to flash. A warning message appeared on the screen. Warning, threat reassessment in progress. Previous data incomplete. Do not engage. Do not engage. The training hall was completely silent. 40 alien students stared at the small human woman who had just done the impossible. Looked up at, her face was calm. Her eyes were steady. Blood ran down her wrist and dripped onto the floor, but she did not seem to notice or care. "Try harder," she said quietly. Felt something he had not felt in many years. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was fear. His scanner continued to flash its warning, the red light reflecting off his dark green scales. Do not engage, do not engage, do not engage. But was a warrior. He had never run from a fight. He would not start now. He drew 3 more blades with his other arms, 4 weapons, 4 angles of attack, a combination that had defeated every species in the galaxy. "Very well, human," he growled. "Let us see what you really are." Released his first blade and let her bloody hand fall to her side. She still did not take a fighting stance. She still did not raise her arms to defend herself. She simply waited. And somewhere deep in her dark eyes, something ancient and dangerous began to wake up. The scanner warned, "Do not engage." Part 2. Attacked with all 4 arms at once. His top right blade went for his throat. His bottom left blade aimed at her knee. His top left blade swept toward her shoulder. His bottom right blade drove straight at her chest. It was a combination attack that had never failed. 4 weapons moving at combat speed, coming from 4 different directions at the same time. No creature could block all 4. No creature could dodge all 4. The best warriors in the galaxy had tried. They had all failed. Moved. She did not move backward. She did not try to run away. Instead, she moved forward directly into the attack. Her head tilted 2 centimeters to the right. The throat strike missed her neck by the width of a finger. Her left leg shifted, and the blade aimed at her knee scraped against her shin instead, cutting her pants but barely touching her skin. She twisted her shoulder, and the third blade passed through empty air where her body had been a moment before. Then she was inside his guard. The fourth blade, the one aimed at her chest, was still coming, but was too close now. The weapon could not build enough speed to cut deep. She let it hit her, the dulled edge pressing against her ribs without breaking the skin, and then she struck. Her elbow drove into his primary chest plate. His scales could stop bullets. His chest plate was the thickest part of his body, designed by millions of years of evolution to protect his vital organs. No student had ever managed to hit him there. No student had ever been fast enough. The impact lifted him off his feet. Flew backward 3 meters, his clawed feet leaving deep scratches in the metal floor as he tried to stop himself. The air rushed out of his lungs. Pain exploded through his chest, sharp and hot. He stood there gasping, all 4 arms hanging loose. His blades suddenly felt very heavy. The training hall was silent. 40 students watched with wide eyes and open mouths. Several of them had taken steps backward, moving away from the small human woman who had just done something impossible. Scanner was screaming now. Red lights flashed on and off. Warning messages filled the screen, scrolling so fast he could barely read them. Threat level unable to calculate. Combat parameters exceeded. Physical capabilities do not match baseline data. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Do not engage. Do not engage. What? Gasped, trying to catch his breath. His chest ached with every word. What are you? Stood in the center of the training hall. Blood still dripped from her cut palm, forming a small red puddle on the metal floor. Her breathing was slow and steady. She was not tired. She was not scared. She looked like she was waiting for a bus, not fighting the most dangerous instructor in the academy. I am human, she said simply. We do not stop fighting when we are hurt. We stop when we are dead. Behind her, the other students backed away even further. Their own scanners were flashing the same warnings. Several of them had extended their claws, ready to fight or run. They had raised their massive fists. Even the armored warriors looked nervous. A young named leaned toward his friend, called Borek. Her threat level, he whispered, his voice shaking. It says unable to calculate. What does that mean? Borek shook his huge head. I do not know. I have never seen that before. Heard their whispers, but he did not take his eyes off. His chest still burned from her strike. He could already feel bruises forming under his scales. This small creature, this soft-skinned human with no claws and no armor, had hurt him. Had hurt him with one blow. He raised his blades again. His pride would not let him stop. He was an instructor. He was a warrior. He had defeated thousands of students. He would not lose to a creature rated threat level 2.3. Again, he growled. Tilted her head slightly. Are you sure? Fight me, human. Show me everything you have. Something changed in his eyes. It was subtle, but saw it. The calm patience shifted into something else, something colder, something that looked at him not as a teacher but as prey. Okay, she said softly, but I warned you. Attacked first. All 4 blades moved in a spinning pattern, a technique called the whirlwind that created a wall of sharp metal. Nothing could pass through the whirlwind. Nothing could survive inside it. Did not try to pass through it. She went under it. Her body dropped low, almost touching the ground. She slid beneath his spinning blades on her side, her momentum carrying her past his legs. Before he could turn, she was behind him. Her foot hooked around his ankle, her hand pressed against the back of his knee. 2 small touches, 2 tiny movements. Fell. He crashed to the ground on his back, all 4 arms flailing. His blades scattered across the floor with loud clanging sounds. He tried to rise, but was already standing over him, one foot pressing gently against his throat. She did not press hard. She did not try to hurt him. She just held him there, showing him that she could kill him if she wanted to. "Do you yield?" she asked politely. Stared up at her. His hearts were pounding, his lungs were burning, and his pride was shattered into 1,000 pieces. "I yield," he said. Removed her foot and stepped back. She bowed to him, the same polite bow she had given when she first arrived. "Thank you for the lesson, Instructor." Then she turned and walked back to her place at the edge of the group. The other students scrambled to get out of her way. Even the 3 times her size moved aside to let her pass. Lay on the ground for a long moment. His body ached. His mind raced with questions. Finally, he pushed himself up and rose to his feet. The training hall was completely silent. 40 students waited, not sure what would happen next. Looked at, she stood at the edge of the group, her hands folded in front of her, her eyes calm and patient once again. The dangerous predator he had seen moments ago was gone. She looked like a normal human woman, small, soft, harmless. But knew better now. He knew what lived behind those calm, dark eyes. "Class dismissed," he said, his voice rough and tired. "We will continue tomorrow." The students began to file out of the training hall, whispering to each other in a dozen different languages. Watched go. She walked slowly, peacefully, as if nothing unusual had happened. When the hall was empty, looked at his scanner one more time. The warning was still there, still flashing red. "Do not engage." He needed answers. He needed to know what humans really were. The baseline data was wrong. The threat assessment was wrong. Everything they knew about Earth and its people was wrong. Walked toward the archive, moving as fast as his bruised body would allow. Somewhere in the classified files, there had to be information about humans, real information, the truth. Because the creature he had fought today was not a threat level 2.3 species. The creature he had fought today was a monster wearing the skin of a harmless girl, and needed to know why his scanner had not seen it coming. He walked through the metal corridors of Station 7, his 4 hands clenched into fists, his scales still aching from the fight. Behind him, the training hall stood empty and silent. Blood still stained the floor where it had stood. Somewhere on the station, the small human woman was probably eating dinner or taking a shower, acting like she had not just defeated the greatest warrior at the academy. Did not understand. But he would. Before the night was over, he would know the truth about humanity. Whatever that truth might be. The scanner warned, "Do not engage," Part 3. The archive was located in the deepest part of Station 7. It was a vast room filled with data crystals, each one containing millions of files about every species in the galaxy. Only instructors with special clearance could access the classified sections. Walked through the dark corridors, his footsteps echoing in the empty halls. It was late at night. Most of the station was asleep, but could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that human woman catching his blade with her bare hand. He reached the archive door and pressed his palm against the scanner. The machine read his scales and confirmed his identity. Instructor, access granted. Classified files available. The door slid open and walked inside. The room was cold and dark, lit only by the soft blue glow of data crystals stacked on endless shelves. He walked to the central terminal and sat down at the console. "Search request," he said to the machine. "Species, human, planet, Earth. Classification, all available data including classified files." The machine hummed for a moment. Then the screen lit up with information. Began to read. The first files were the public data, the same information that his scanner used. Humans had average bone density, average muscle strength, average nerve speed, nothing special, nothing dangerous. Threat level 2.3. But then found the classified section. Files that had been locked away for over 1,000 years. Files that required the highest level of clearance to access. The first document was a report from a scientist named written during the first contact mission to Earth. Read the words carefully. "We have made a terrible mistake," had written. "Our initial assessment of humans was based on their average physical abilities. We measured their bones, their muscles, their reflexes. We compared them to other species and found nothing remarkable. We classified them as minimal threat. We were wrong. Humans have a biological system that we did not understand at first. They call it the fight or flight response. When a human is in danger, their body releases chemicals into their blood. These chemicals change everything. Their strength increases by 300 to 400%. Their speed increases by similar amounts. Their ability to feel pain decreases dramatically. In some cases, humans can continue fighting with injuries that would kill most other species instantly. This alone would make them dangerous, but there is something else, something worse. Humans can train themselves to control this response. They can enter this state voluntarily, without being in immediate danger. Their warriors spend years learning to access these abilities at will. I have attached several examples of human combat behavior that we observed during our study. Scrolled down to the examples. What he read made his scales turn pale gray. Example 1. During the Earth conflict known as the Korean War, a human soldier named continued fighting for 11 minutes after being shot 6 times. Medical analysis later confirmed that his wounds should have caused immediate unconsciousness. Instead, he killed 14 enemy soldiers before finally collapsing. He survived and recovered fully. Example 2. A human pilot named crash-landed her aircraft in hostile territory. During the crash, a fuel line broke inside the ship. The fuel was highly flammable and would have caused an explosion within seconds. Grabbed the broken line with her bare hands and held it closed while her co-pilot landed the burning ship. She suffered burns on 60% of her body. She never let go of the fuel line. She saved both their lives. Example 3. A human combat instructor named was attacked by 17 warriors during a border dispute. He was armed only with a metal pipe. The fight lasted 4 minutes. All 17 warriors were killed or disabled, walked away with minor injuries. Stopped reading. His hands were shaking. He had fought warriors before. They were among the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Their biological armor could stop most weapons. Their strength was enormous. And a single human with a metal pipe had defeated 17 of them. He continued scrolling through the files. There were more examples, hundreds of them. Humans who had survived impossible situations. Humans who had fought through injuries that would have killed any other species. Humans who had refused to stop fighting, refused to give up, refused to die. At the bottom of the document, found a final note from scientist. Recommendation: human threat classification must be changed immediately. Current assessment is based on untrained civilian population only. Military specimens display capabilities that exceed our measurement parameters. For untrained humans, threat level 2.3 may be accurate. For trained human warriors, threat level should be raised to 9.7 or higher. Additional note: humans should never be engaged in close combat under any circumstances. They are most dangerous when cornered, outnumbered, or protecting others. In these situations, their combat effectiveness increases dramatically. Final warning: do not assume a human is defeated until they are confirmed dead. They have been known to continue fighting long past the point where any other species would have stopped. Sat back in his chair. His 4 hands gripped the armrest so tightly that the metal bent under his claws. Threat level 9.7. That was near the maximum. That was the same level as the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. And the woman in his training hall, Park. Search for her name in the military database. What he found made his blood run cold. Park, born in Korea on Earth, graduated from Special Operations School at age 22, 7 years of advanced combat training, certified instructor in 3 martial arts, participated in 4 combat deployments, 0 failures. She was not a student. She was a weapon. The academy had made a terrible error. They had looked at her soft skin and small body. They had checked her threat level and seen 2.3. They had assumed she was weak. They had invited a predator into their home. Stood up and began packing around the archive. He needed to tell someone. He needed to warn the academy. But would they believe him? He was an instructor who had just been defeated by a student half his size. His pride was already damaged. Would anyone listen? And what would happen too? Would they send her home? Would they try to restrain her? If they tried to restrain her, knew what would happen. She would fight. And when humans fought, people died. He thought about her calm eyes and her polite bow. She had not wanted to hurt him. She had held back, he realized now. She had defeated him with minimal force, giving him just enough pain to make him yield without causing serious injury. She was dangerous, yes, but she was not evil. She had not come to the academy to kill anyone. She had come to train. Made a decision. He would not warn the academy, not yet. He would watch carefully. He would study her. He would learn what humans were truly capable of. And he would make sure that nobody else made the mistake of underestimating her. He walked out of the archive and headed back to his quarters. The corridors were still empty. The station was still quiet, but felt different now. He felt like he had just learned a secret that changed everything he knew about the galaxy. Humans were not weak. Humans were not harmless. Humans were the most terrifying species he had ever encountered. And one of them was sleeping peacefully in the student dormitory, probably dreaming about home, while the entire station had no idea what kind of monster lived among them. Reached his quarters and sat down on his bed. He did not sleep that night. He stayed awake, thinking about Park and her calm, dark eyes. Tomorrow training would continue, and would be watching very, very carefully. Because now he knew the truth. Humans were predators wearing the disguise of prey. And the galaxy was not ready for them. The scanner warned, "Do not engage," Part 4. News traveled fast on Station 7. By the next morning, everyone knew what had happened in the training hall. The story changed with each telling. Some said the human had used hidden weapons. Some said she was a cyborg with metal bones and computer chips in her brain. Some said Earth had sent a secret super soldier to spy on the academy. But everyone agreed on one thing. The human had made Instructor look like a fool. The warriors were especially angry. Their species had held the Academy's combat championship for 32 years in a row. No one had ever beaten a warrior in official combat. Their biological armor made them nearly invincible. Their strength was legendary. Champion was the best of them all. Stood almost 3 meters tall. His armor covered his entire body in thick plates of brown and gold. His arms ended in massive claws that could crush metal. His legs were like tree trunks. When he walked, the floor shook. On the morning after his fight with, marched into the dining hall where all the students were eating breakfast. He walked straight to his table and slammed his fist down so hard that the metal table bent in half. "Human," he growled, his voice like thunder, "I challenge you." The dining hall went silent. Every eye turned to look at. She was eating a bowl of rice and vegetables. She looked up at calmly, her chopsticks still in her hand. "What kind of challenge?" she asked politely. "Formal combat in the arena, under Academy rules." Leaned closer, his armored face just centimeters from hers. "I will show everyone that your victory against was a trick, a cheat. You cannot defeat a real warrior." Set down her chopsticks. She looked at for a long moment, studying him the way a scientist might study an interesting insect. "Okay," she said, "I accept." Blinked, he had expected her to refuse. He had expected fear. "You accept?" "Yes, when do you want to fight?" "Tomorrow evening, the main arena." nodded and picked up her chopsticks again. I will be there. Stood there for a moment, not sure what to do. Then he turned and marched out of the dining hall, his heavy footsteps echoing behind him. The moment he was gone, the dining hall exploded with noise. Students talked excitedly in a dozen different languages. Betting pools opened within minutes. The odds favored at 15 to 1. After all, he was the champion. He had never been defeated. His armor could stop most weapons. And was just a small human woman with soft skin and no claws. That evening, a young man came to visit in her quarters. His name was. He was also from Earth, assigned to the station as an engineer. He was the only other human on 7. Was tall for a human, but still much shorter than most aliens on the station. He had a kind face and worried eyes. When he knocked on's door, his hands were shaking. "Come in," called. Entered the small room, was sitting on her bed, wrapping bandages around her still healing palm. The cut from's blade was almost closed, but not quite. "You know about the challenge?" asked. "Yes." "And you accepted?" "Yes." Sat down on a chair across from her. He rubbed his face with his hands. "Do you understand what you are doing? Has killed opponents in the arena before. It is legal under Academy rules. If one fighter kills the other during formal combat, there is no punishment." Continued wrapping her hand. "I know." "Then why are you doing this?" Finished with the bandage and flexed her fingers, testing the tightness. She looked at with those calm, dark eyes. "Because every species on this station thinks humans are weak," she said. "They look at us and see soft skin, small bodies, no claws, no armor. They think we are easy prey. And there are human colonies on the frontier, human merchant ships traveling through alien space, human families living on stations just like this one." Stood up and walked to her small window. Outside, she could see the stars stretching into infinity. "If aliens think we are prey, they will hunt us. They will attack our ships. They will raid our colonies. They will hurt our people." Was quiet for a moment. "So you are fighting to protect all humans, not just yourself?" Nodded slowly. "When I walk into that arena tomorrow, every alien in the galaxy will be watching. They will see what happens when a human fights back. They will learn that we are not weak. We are not prey. We are dangerous." She turned back to face. There was fire in her eyes now, a fierce determination that made him take a step backward. "I am not fighting for glory," she said. "I am not fighting for pride. I am fighting so that the next time an alien sees a human, they remember this moment. They remember what we can do when we have to." Did not know what to say. He had never met anyone like before. She was willing to risk her life not for money or fame, but simply to protect people she had never met. "Is there anything I can do to help?" he asked finally. Smiled slightly. It was the first time he had seen her smile. "Do you have access to the station's medical database?" "Yes, why?" "I want to study anatomy. Their armor has gaps, small places where the plates do not connect. I need to know exactly where those gaps are." Stared at her. "You have a plan?" "I always have a plan." Walked to her desk and turned on her computer. "Warriors are strong, but they rely too much on their armor. They believe nothing can hurt them. That belief is a weakness." "How is that a weakness?" "Because they do not learn to defend the places their armor does not cover." Began typing on her keyboard. "Find me those medical files. I need to know everything about biology, every bone, every muscle, every nerve." Nodded and hurried out of the room. He would get her the information she needed. He would help however he could. As he walked through the metal corridors of the station, he felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Hope. For the first time since he arrived on this alien station, felt proud to be human, proud to share a species with someone like Park. Tomorrow she would walk into the arena and face a monster 3 times her size. She would fight with no armor, no claws, no weapons. and somehow believed she would win. Because that was what humans did. They faced impossible situations and found ways to survive. They fought when they should have run. They won when they should have lost. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn why humans were the most dangerous species in the universe, and would be there to watch. He walked faster, heading toward the medical database. He had work to do. Behind him, in her small room, continued studying. She read about biology. She looked at diagrams of their armor. She memorized the locations of every gap, every weakness, every vulnerable spot. She did not sleep that night. She did not need to. She had a fight to prepare for. And she was not going to lose. The scanner warned, "Do not engage." Part 5. The main arena was packed with spectators. They came from every corner of the station: warriors and students, engineers and cooks, merchants and travelers who happened to be passing through. Word of the challenge had spread across 3 star systems. Ships had changed course just to watch the fight. The arena was a massive circular pit, 20 meters across, with seats rising up on all sides like a bowl. The floor was made of reinforced metal that could survive explosions. The walls were high enough to keep the fighters inside. There were no weapons allowed. This would be a pure test of strength and skill. At one end of the arena stood like a living mountain. His armor gleamed under the bright lights. His massive claws clicked together as he stretched his arms. He looked confident. He looked deadly. He looked like a champion. At the other end walked through the entrance. She wore simple gray clothes. No armor, no weapons, no protection at all. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight knot. Her hands were wrapped in white bandages, the only concession to safety she had allowed herself. The crowd murmured as she walked to the center of the arena. She was so small compared to, so fragile looking. Many spectators shook their heads. This would not be a fight. This would be an execution. Around the arena, scanners activated as spectators checked the threat levels of both fighters. For threat level 9.1, extremely dangerous. The scanners paused. Then they displayed a number that made several spectators gasp. Threat level 9.7. Warning, do not engage. In the viewing gallery above the arena, Instructor sat watching. His chest still ached from his fight with 2 days ago. Beside him, leaned forward nervously, his hands gripping the railing. "She can win this," said, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. "Perhaps," replied, "but is the champion for a reason. His armor can stop almost anything." "Almost anything," repeated, "not everything." The referee, a neutral official, walked to the center of the arena. He raised one thin arm. "This is a formal challenge under Academy rules," he announced. "Combat continues until submission, unconsciousness, or," he paused, his voice becoming quieter, "or death. Fighters, are you ready?" Slammed his claws together. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. "I will make this quick, human. It would be cruel to make you suffer too long." Did not respond. She stood in a relaxed position, her weight balanced on both feet, her eyes fixed on. She did not look scared. She did not look worried. She looked patient. "Begin," the referee shouted, and then ran quickly to the edge of the arena. Charged. He moved fast for his size. His massive legs pushed him forward with terrifying speed. His claws spread wide, ready to crush in a killing embrace. The ground shook with each step. Did not run. She dropped. Her body fell low, sliding on her knees beneath reaching arms. She passed between his legs like water flowing around a rock. Before he could turn, she was behind him. Her hand struck the back of his knee, hitting the gap between his armor plates. It was a small gap, barely 2 centimeters wide, but his fingers found it perfectly. Roared in pain and stumbled. He spun around, his claws sweeping through the air, but was already moving. She circled around him, always staying in his blind spots, never giving him a clear target. "Stand still," bellowed. "No," replied calmly. She struck again. Her fist found the gap beneath his left arm. Her elbow hit the soft spot where his neck met his shoulder. Each blow was small. Each blow was precise. Each blow targeted a place where his armor did not protect him. Grew angry. His attacks became wilder. He swung his claws in huge arcs, trying to catch her, trying to crush her, but was never where he expected. She moved like smoke, like shadow, like something that could not be touched. 3 minutes passed, was bleeding from a dozen small wounds. His movements were slowing. His breathing was heavy. His beautiful armor, so strong against direct attacks, had become a prison of weaknesses. "Yield," said, standing in front of him. She was not even breathing hard. "You have fought well. There is no shame in stopping now." His eyes burned with rage and humiliation. He was the champion. He had never been defeated. He would not lose to this small, soft, weak creature. He activated his species' last weapon. The suicide protocol. His armor changed. Spines extended from every plate. His joints locked in place. His entire body transformed into a living missile, designed to explode forward in one final devastating attack. The protocol was meant for desperate situations, when a warrior had no other choice. Once activated, it could not be stopped. The crowd gasped. The referee shouted for a halt. Screamed from the viewing gallery, "Move!" But did not move. She stood perfectly still as launched himself at her. His body flew across the arena with the force of a crashing shuttle. His claws reached forward. His spines extended. He was a weapon of pure destruction, aimed directly at her heart. Stepped forward. Not backward, not sideways, forward, into the attack. Her palm met his chest plate in the fraction of a second before impact. Her fingers found a single spot, a nerve cluster hidden beneath his primary armor. She pressed. Crashed to the ground. His body went limp. His joints unlocked. His spines retracted. The suicide protocol shut down as his nervous system stopped responding to his commands. He lay on the arena floor, paralyzed but alive, unable to move anything except his eyes. Stood over him, unmarked except for the old wound on her palm. The arena was silent. Then slowly a sound began to build. It was not applause, not exactly. Each species had their own way of showing respect. The clicked their scales together. The hummed in low, powerful tones. The tapped their claws against the floor. Even the warriors, watching their champion lie defeated, beat their armored fists against their chests in salute. In the viewing gallery, rose from his seat. He looked down at the small human woman who had just defeated the undefeated champion. His scanner displayed the same warning it had shown since their first fight. Do not engage. He understood now. It was not about size. It was not about armor or claws or strength. Humans were dangerous because they never accepted that they could not win. They studied their enemies. They found weaknesses. They prepared for everything. And when they fought with everything they had. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor to help. The paralysis would wear off in a few hours. He would live, but his pride would take much longer to heal. Pushed through the crowd and ran down to the arena. He reached just as she was walking toward the exit. "That was incredible," he said, his voice shaking. "You walked into a suicide attack. How did you know you could stop it?" Shrugged slightly. "I had to. If I dodged, he would have hit the crowd behind me. People would have died." Stared at her. "You risked your life to save aliens who were betting against you." "They are not my enemies. They just did not understand." Looked up at the viewing gallery where hundreds of alien eyes watched her with new respect. "Now they understand." She flexed her hand, wincing slightly at the pain in her palm. "Besides, I knew where to hit. I studied anatomy for 3 months before coming here." 3 months? How did you know you would fight one? Smiled a small, quiet smile that made her look almost gentle. "I did not know for certain, But my grandmother taught me something when I was young back home she said, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and train for everything in between. She began walking toward the arena exit, followed beside her. What happens now? He asked. Now they know. Looked up at the stars visible through the arena's transparent ceiling. Every alien who watched this fight will tell others. The story will spread. And the next time someone sees a human, they will think twice before attacking. They walked in silence for a moment, then laughed softly. You know what the best part is? What? Your scanner threat level is still 9.7, but I heard some of the students saying it should be higher. Grinned. They said the scanners must be broken. Laughed too, a warm sound that seemed strange coming from someone who had just defeated a monster. The scanners are not broken. They just measure the wrong things. They measure bones and muscles and nerves. They do not measure heart. They do not measure will. And those are the things that make humans dangerous. Those are the things that make humans human. They reached the exit and walked out into the station's corridors. Behind them, the arena was still buzzing with noise as spectators discussed the incredible fight they had witnessed. Stopped at a window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were traveling through space. Human colonies were growing on distant worlds. Human children were looking up at alien skies and dreaming of the future. They are all a little bit safer now, she said softly, because today the galaxy learned a lesson. What lesson? Asked. Turned away from the window and began walking toward her quarters. She needed rest. Tomorrow, training would continue. When a human tells you to try harder, she said over her shoulder, you should probably run instead. Watched her go. Then he looked out the window at the endless stars and he smiled. He was proud to be human. Far away, in the galactic database, an automated system updated the entry for humanity. New warning added to all first contact protocols. If a human tells you to try harder, disengage immediately. This is not defiance. This is not bravado. This is a predator giving you one chance to survive. The stars continued to shine. The station continued to spin. And somewhere in a small room, a young woman from Earth wrapped fresh bandages around her healing hand and began planning for tomorrow. Because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, they won. And they never, ever gave up.